I, 21M, have an older brother Dave that has always been a jerk to me. There's only a 1-year gap between us. But he liked to beat me up when we were kids, and he always acted like anything that was mine was also his. He was also somewhat the golden child. Which made me miserable. So no surprise I moved out at 18. My uncle is a now retired police officer, and he took me in after I left home. He even hooked me up with a decommissioned Crown Vic. I absolutely love that car. I don't know why. But Dave hated the fact I had that car. He drove 3 beater cars into the ground while my Crown Vic kept chugging along. Well, after his 3rd beater finally died when he drove it into a pole, he asked to borrow my car. I had a bad feeling and said I wasn't gonna do that. He called me entitled and said he needed a car to get to work. I told him to take the bus because I know how he drives and my Crown Vic was off limits. My parents called me after that and told me to just lend him my car. I said I won't no matter what they say. I rely on the car and need it as well since it's my personal transportation. Dave wasn't the only one in the world with a job he needed to get to. My uncle congratulated me for standing up to them and gave me a high five. A few days later when I got off work the car wasn't where I parked it. I called my brother's cell, but he didn't pick up. Then I called my parents and asked them if he took my car. They denied it. So I said I was gonna call the cops, and then they admitted he'd borrowed it because he needed it. I told them he better bring it back right now or I'll have police looking for him. They called me a jerk and then phoned Dave to bring my car back. He showed back up in the parking lot in my car 20 minutes later. I demanded to know how he stole my car, and he held up a set of police Crown Vic keys he'd bought online. Some were made universal. I told him if he ever stole my car again, I'd have him arrested. Then he had the audacity to ask for a ride home. I told him he made me wait in the December cold after stealing my car so he could walk. He called me an idiot before I drove away. After that, my uncle installed a tracking device in the car. When Christmas Day came I was celebrating with family like every year. The roads were cold and icy. So I had to be very careful while driving. Yeah, Dave borrowed my car again during the Christmas party. Apparently, he decided he was gonna pick up a friend and figured I wouldn't notice. But I did when I looked out the front window and saw my car was missing. I pulled up the tracking app and saw he was a few miles away. Then called his cell to yell at him. Everyone in the party saw this and asked what was going on. I said Dave stole my car again. And my uncle confirmed it wasn't the first time. Dave told me over the phone to screw off and he'd be back soon. I said he better not have been drinking. But he just hung up on me. Well, while I was watching the tracker app the dot stopped and didn't move for a while. Soon we got a panicked call from Dave asking for help. He'd crashed the car because he couldn't handle the icy roads and he wasn't used to a rear-wheel drive vehicle. So we piled in my parents' minivan and followed the tracker. We found Dave by the road and my Crown Vic nose deep in a snow-filled ditch. My uncle was furious as it was formerly a car of his department. And I was mad as hell at Dave for stealing my car again. My parents wanted me to let it go. But I said enough was enough and was gonna call the police. Dave begged me not to because he really had been drinking before he set off and would get a DUI. I said he was gonna pay me back for my damned car then, or I'd sue him. Well, as luck would have it, police were already aware of the accident and were driving in to check on the scene. Someone else had called them, I guess. My parents tried to say that I was the one driving the car and they were just there to help me. I said that wasn't true and my uncle backed me up. In fact, one of the cops that was there recognized my uncle and they had a chat. Then they went to Dave and asked to see his license. Which I then found out was suspended after he'd crashed his previous car. Then they breath tested him. He wound up with cuffs slapped on his wrists while my mother was crying and begging the police not to take him away. But the officer just said that she and my dad could get arrested too for lying to the police. That shut my parents up. And we got back in the minivan. The Christmas party ended early and my parents drove me and my uncle home since he rode with me. They didn't say much to either of us the whole drive and just sped away as soon as we were out of their van. They nearly slipped off the road themselves doing that. My brother was let out of jail the next day. And he looked so scared that he was practically crying. The cops there had roughed him up a bit while talking about prison and the crap they'd seen go on there. Dave had actually pissed himself during that and they let him take a shower. That's when my uncle started cracking up and revealed to us that his friends in the department never filed the DUI and just a charge for the suspended license. Which was about a $600 fine. My uncle said he just wanted to teach Dave a lesson. And this would be the one and only time he'd ever get his help. Dave then apologized to me and said he'd pay to have my Crown Vic fixed and would never touch it again. When it got pulled out of the ditch, the front end damage was actually minor. It needs a new front bumper, a headlight, and a grille. The damage was just superficial, thankfully. My parents have pretty much glossed over the whole incident and act like it didn't happen. Dave gave me the extra Crown Vic keys he'd bought online and said this has taught him a lesson he won't soon forget. P.S. Okay guys. I'm kinda tired of so many griping about how my uncle broke the law by keeping my brother's DUI from ever being filed. I did not consent to that. I did not want him to do it. But by the time I found out, it was already done. My uncle isn't a bad person. He was actually a great cop that believed in people getting second chances. And he was thanked for that many times. Last year I saw a random man recognize my uncle and thank him for putting him on the straight and narrow some years ago. I won't deny the cover-up of the DUI by the department was wrong. And I have no idea how they did it. But it's already done. I no longer care about that. My brother willingly paid in full for the repairs to my car. And he's keeping out of trouble. I know he could have hurt or killed someone. That much is obvious. But he didn't. My parents should have been arrested for lying to the police too. But they weren't. But my father was arrested later anyway because he attacked a man after being called out as a narcissist. And now that situation is what is currently going on. What happened with my brother is basically done now. My father trying to save a man's face, and I'd say is far more important at the moment than something that happened weeks ago. I plan to have the locks changed or rekeyed when I can afford it. But I currently can't afford it. So in the meantime I'm getting a kill switch and a steering wheel club. When your parents told the police that you were driving and had the accident, they crossed a line that I personally would not be able to forgive. It's one thing for them to harass you into loaning Dave your car. But they were willing to sacrifice your well-being for that of their golden child. I don't know how you live with that or get past it. Be assured, they will do it again if the need arises. I hope he has learned a lesson since your parents didn't teach him anything about responsibility. I'm allergic to hand sanitizer, alcoholic wipes, and generally anything that has alcohol-based products. I even bring my own soap because I can have a reaction to some soaps. I can't even drink the stuff without my lips swelling. My old boss was my cousin, so when COVID hit I didn't really have a problem until my cousin got promoted and got transferred to a new office. Enter our new boss. We got a mass email going over our new COVID safety procedures, and one of the new procedures is that we all have to use hand sanitizer and antiseptic wipes. I sent an email to HR telling them about my allergies with medical documents. They sent back saying that I don't have to use the hand sanitizer and antiseptic wipes and that they put it in my file. However, when sent the exact email to my new boss, he replied by saying that all employees have to follow the new COVID safety procedures with no exceptions. When I replied that if I use those products I will need medical assistance, he then sent me another email saying that if any employee doesn't follow the new COVID safety procedures correctly that they would be fired. I sent copies of the emails to our union rep and HR department, to which they replied that they would talk to him, and kinda told me to ignore him unless he tries to actually fire me. So I go to work and my new boss is literally waiting for me at my desk with a bottle of hand sanitizer in his hands, asking me to hold out my hands. I did reply saying no thanks, I rather not go to the hospital today. He got mad and literally grabbed my hand and squirted sanitizer on it, then run it in. Say that wasn't so bad. I tried to go to the bathroom to wash it off, but he blocked me. Well, I had a bad reaction, thank God I had an EpiPen on my desk. My boss kept saying I thought he was lying and kept saying until I was put into the ambulance and couldn't hear him. A member of the HR department and the legal department came to visit me in the hospital, probably making sure I don't sue, and informed me that he was fired. The woman from the HR department also said that they called the police on my behalf and I should be getting a visit from them soon. I can't talk about that as it's an ongoing investigation. P.S. I'm in Australia so no medical fees. I'm not happy about the EpiPen, $40, they are expensive. Also, cops won't tell me anything that frustrating. They did tell me that he's been ordered to stay away from me. I'm still in the hospital hoping to be released today or tomorrow at the latest. I'm pleased to say that the manager probably has no chance of appealing. What he did is gross misconduct, which means instant dismissal. HR may be covering the company's back, but they did do the right thing. OP should speak to his union rep to advise him in his dealings with HR and the company lawyers.